The Ghost Hunter's Apprentice. Once upon a time, there was a young woman named Sarah who didn't believe in ghosts. She thought that all ghost stories were just made up to scare people. One day, she saw an ad for an apprenticeship with a famous ghost hunter, and she decided to apply for it just for the experience. To her surprise, Sarah got the job. She was excited to learn about ghost hunting, but when she started working with her boss, she quickly realized that he was a fraud. He would stage ghost sightings and then charge people a lot of money to cleanse their homes. At first, Sarah was disappointed, but she decided to stick with the job and see where it led her. One day, her boss received a call from a hotel owner who claimed that his hotel was haunted. He and Sarah went to investigate, but Sarah was sure that they wouldn't find anything. As they explored the hotel, Sarah's boss kept pretending to see ghosts, but Sarah didn't believe him. That is until they met a real ghost named Charlie, who was more interested in making jokes than scaring people. Charlie had been stuck in the hotel for years, and he was thrilled to finally have some company. Sarah was shocked to see a real ghost, and she was even more surprised to discover that Charlie was funny and charming. She started to believe in ghosts after all, and she and Charlie quickly became friends. As they spent more time together, Sarah learned that Charlie had a tragic past. He had been a comedian who died on stage, and he had never been able to move on. Sarah was touched by Charlie's story, and she was determined to help him find peace. They worked together to uncover the truth about Charlie's death, and they even put on a comedy show to honor his memory. In the end, Charlie was able to move on, and Sarah had a newfound appreciation for the world of ghosts. But their adventures didn't end there. As they left the hotel, they received a call from a group of ghosts who needed their help with a haunting in a nearby town. Sarah and Charlie were thrilled to embark on their next ghost hunting adventure together. And so, the Ghost Hunter's Apprentice and the comedic ghost continued their adventures, making people laugh and helping ghosts find peace. Their next adventure took them to an old, abandoned theater. The ghosts there were restless, and they were causing all sorts of mischief. Sarah and Charlie had to use all their wits to figure out what was causing the hauntings and how to stop them. As they explored the theater, Sarah noticed that the ghosts seemed to be drawn to a particular prop, an old, battered trunk. When they opened the trunk, they found a script for a long-forgotten play, and Sarah realized that the ghosts were all actors who had been stuck in the theater for decades. With Charlie's help, Sarah organized a performance of the play, bringing the ghosts back to the stage where they had once performed. The show was a success, and the ghosts were finally able to move on to the afterlife. Sarah was overjoyed to have helped the ghosts find peace, and Charlie was thrilled to have been part of such a fun and exciting adventure. They knew that their work was never done, and they continued to travel the country, helping ghosts and making people laugh. Years went by, and Sarah became a famous ghost hunter in her own right. She wrote books about her adventures with Charlie, and she even had her own television show. Charlie was always by her side, making jokes and helping her solve the toughest ghostly mysteries. As they grew older, Sarah knew that someday she would have to say goodbye to Charlie. But she also knew that he would always be with her in spirit, making her laugh and reminding her of all the amazing adventures they had shared. And so, the Ghost Hunter's Apprentice and the comedic ghost lived happily ever after, bringing laughter and joy to everyone they met. Their legacy continued long after they were gone, inspiring a new generation of ghost hunters to follow in their footsteps. One day, Sarah received a call from a young woman who had just started her own ghost hunting business. She was a big fan of Sarah's work and wanted to know if she had any advice for a new ghost hunter. Sarah was happy to help and invited the young woman to join her on her next ghost hunt. When they arrived at the haunted location, Sarah noticed that the young woman was nervous and unsure of herself. She reminded her that even the most experienced ghost hunters had doubts sometimes, and that the key was to trust your instincts and stay true to yourself. As they explored the location, they encountered a particularly stubborn ghost who refused to leave. Sarah tried all of her usual tricks, but nothing seemed to work. That's when the young woman stepped in, suggesting a new approach that Sarah had never thought of before. Together, they were able to coax the ghost into moving on, and Sarah realized that she had learned just as much from the young woman as the young woman had learned from her. She realized that the world of ghost hunting was constantly evolving, and that even the most experienced hunters could benefit from the fresh perspective of newcomers. As they packed up their equipment and prepared to leave, Sarah couldn't help but feel grateful for all the adventures she had had with Charlie and for all the amazing people she had met along the way. She knew that she had found her true calling in life and that she would always be a ghost hunter at heart. And so, the ghost hunter's legacy continued, inspiring generations of hunters to come. Whether they were chasing ghosts in old theaters or haunted hotels, Sarah knew that she had made a difference in the world, helping both the living and the dead find peace and laughter along the way. As Sarah grew older, she began to pass on her knowledge to younger ghost hunters, just as Charlie had passed on his knowledge to her. She started a training program for aspiring ghost hunters, and many of her former apprentices went on to have successful careers of their own. One day, Sarah received a call from a woman who introduced herself as the granddaughter of a ghost she and Charlie had helped many years ago. The woman explained that her grandmother had always talked about the kind ghost hunters who had helped her and how she had never forgotten their kindness. Sarah was touched by the woman's words and realized that her legacy had far-reaching effects that she had never even imagined. She knew that her work as a ghost hunter had touched the lives of countless people, both living and dead. As Sarah reflected on her life, she knew that she had no regrets. She had lived a life filled with adventure, laughter, and love. She had helped countless ghosts find peace, and she had inspired a new generation of ghost hunters to carry on her legacy. And so, as Sarah lay in bed, surrounded by her loved ones, she closed her eyes for the last time, knowing that she had lived a life well lived. But even as she passed into the afterlife, Sarah knew that her work was not yet done. She would continue to watch over the living, helping them find their way in a world filled with both mystery and wonder. As Sarah entered the afterlife, she was surprised to see Charlie waiting for her. He was just as she remembered him, with his wide grin and mischievous eyes. "Charlie!" she exclaimed, rushing to embrace him. "I knew you'd be here soon," Charlie said, grinning. Together, they explored the afterlife, marveling at its strange and wondrous sights. They encountered countless ghosts, some of whom Sarah had helped in life, and many more who were simply happy to meet the famous ghost hunter. As they wandered, Sarah noticed that some of the ghosts seemed lost and confused, unsure of where to go or what to do. She knew that she had to help them, just as she had helped ghosts in life. And so, Sarah and Charlie began to guide the lost ghosts, helping them find their way to the afterlife's many wonders. They discovered hidden corners of the afterlife, filled with mysteries and secrets, and they delighted in sharing these discoveries with the other ghosts. As time passed, Sarah realized that she had found a new purpose in the afterlife. She was no longer a ghost hunter, but a guide and mentor, helping lost souls find their way to the light. She knew that this was her true calling, and she embraced it with all her heart. And so, Sarah and Charlie continued to explore the afterlife, sharing laughter, love, and joy with all those they met. They knew that their legacy would live on, inspiring others to follow in their footsteps and helping both the living and the dead find peace and happiness. And so, Sarah and Charlie continued to guide lost souls in the afterlife, bringing light to those who were lost and lonely. They lived a fulfilling afterlife, and their legacy continued to inspire generations of ghost hunters and guides alike. Eventually, Sarah and Charlie's time in the afterlife came to an end. They knew that it was time to move on, to see what other wonders lay beyond the veil. But even as they said goodbye to the afterlife, Sarah and Charlie knew that their legacy would live on. They had touched countless lives in both life and death, and they had left a lasting impact on the world. And so Sarah and Charlie left the afterlife, ready to see what other adventures awaited them in the great unknown. But no matter where their journeys took them, they knew that they would always be ghost hunters at heart, ready to help the living and the dead find their way in a world filled with both mystery and wonder. That's it for this story. I hope you had as much fun listening to it as I did creating it. If you liked the story and want to see more content like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story.